One of China's top spies has reportedly defected to the U.S. Rumor has it he passed on important intel about the pandemic's origin and names of Chinese spies working in the U.S. A White House official presents China with a stark choice: allow a real probe into the pandemic's origin or face isolation from the international community. Hong Kong's pro-democracy newspaper Apple Daily is facing a possible shutdown. This weekend will either make or break the publication as it prepares to print what might be its last issue. Floods strike China's longest river. In one area, water rose a whopping 13 feet in just one day's time. And a 7-story building in southern China crumbles with residents still inside. Authorities are now looking into what caused the sudden collapse. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Rumors are circulating that China's top spy catcher has defected to America. According to Chinese and English language media outlets, the intelligence he brought may shed light on the origin of the pandemic. Both U.S. and Chinese officials have stayed silent so far. NTD cannot independently verify the details. But conservative media Red State and intelligence news site Spy Talk claim they've confirmed from separate sources that the Chinese man's name is Dong Jingwei. Dong is Vice Minister of China's Ministry of State Security. That's Beijing's intelligence security and secret police agency. Chinese state media reports that he's responsible for the ministry's counterintelligence efforts, that is, to catch spies. According to Red State, Dong fled to the U.S. in February and has been working with the Defense Intelligence Agency, or DIA, for months. The agency is part of the Department of Defense and the U.S. intelligence community. He's reportedly submitted critical information to DIA that includes the Chinese regime's early studies about the CCP virus, known as COVID-19. Models predicting virus spread and its potential damage to the U.S. and the world, as well as the names of Americans who provide intelligence to the Chinese regime, and names of Chinese spies working in the U.S. He also claimed the Chinese regime has gained access to a CIA communication system, leading to the deaths of more than 10 Chinese people who had worked with the CIA. On June 18th, just days after news about Dong's defection, China's state-controlled media reported that he had spoken at a seminar on Friday. But unlike standard news articles, the report did not mention where the seminar took place, nor did it contain any photos of Dong. It also claimed that at the seminar, Dong cautioned Chinese spies to watch out for moles who work with foreign forces. Speaking to Radio Free Asia, former U.S. diplomat Matthew James Brazil said the Chinese regime published the piece in an attempt to debunk the rumors about Dong's defection. He took special notice of the lack of a photo, saying if he were Beijing, he would have at least added a picture of Dong to show that he's still in China. The story has caused heated debate. Senior member of the Republican National Committee, Solomon Yue, is now betting his committee seat that the rumors are true. Yue told a Chinese language media that he had confirmed the news from what he called a reliable source. Dong's intel about the Chinese regime's infiltration into the CIA fell in line with a New York Times article from 2017. The newspaper reported that between 2010 and 2012, Beijing deconstructed the CIA's operations in China by killing or jailing over a dozen of the agency's sources in the country. One of them was reportedly shot in a government courtyard in front of his colleagues to send a message to other CIA informants. At the time, some U.S. investigators suspected that China may have hacked the CIA's covert system, used talk with foreign sources. Other reports also suggest Beijing's infiltration into the CIA. In May 2019, then CIA officer Kevin Patrick Mallory was charged with spying for China. He was later sentenced to 20 years in prison. In November of the same year, another officer, detention, admitted to providing secret intelligence to Beijing. He was sentenced to 19 years. China will likely face a dilemma over the origins of the CCP virus. That's according to U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. He told Fox News in an interview on Sunday that China will face isolation if it does not cooperate with probes into the origins of the virus.
Either they will allow, in a responsible way, investigators in to do the real work of figuring out where this came from, or they will face isolation in the international community.
The origins of the CCP virus remain a mystery, even after almost 2 years. A team led by the World Health Organization, or WHO, spent 4 weeks in and around Wuhan with Chinese researchers earlier this year. In its report, the team claimed that the virus probably transmitted from bats to humans. And that introduction through a laboratory incident was extremely unlikely. But experts said some data have been withheld. And the U.S. mission to the UN said in a statement last month that the WHO study was insufficient and inconclusive. Sullivan says the U.S. won't count on China to find out about the virus origins without external pressure.
It is that diplomatic spade work, rallying the nations of the world, imposing political and diplomatic pressure on China.
He says the Biden administration will cooperate with the intelligence community and allies to press the matter on every front until they find a result. But in another interview with CNN, Sullivan says the current administration will not apply any immediate pressure on the CCP over the matter. Last month, President Biden ordered aides to find answers to the origins of the virus. He said they will be looking at rival theories, including the lab leak theory. But Beijing claimed that politicizing the issue will hamper investigations. Since last Thursday, heavy rains have drenched multiple Chinese regions. All 4 major rivers in northeastern China's Heilongjiang province have average water levels that are higher than that from the same period in previous years. The highest water level is almost 12 feet higher than in previous years, and these rivers are exceeding the flood warning levels. China's state-owned media reported on Saturday a dam has failed in the province, and over 400 people were trapped on an island. An online video shows an old bridge in the region getting washed down. Due to serious flooding, a local town has been submerged in water. Houses and roads in another area are also submerged in water, but Chinese state-owned media did not seem to report on it much. Meanwhile, floods also struck China's longest river, the Yangtze River. Yichang City in central China's Hubei province saw big floods last Thursday. That's where the Three Gorges Dam is located. The rain washed down a bridge. Many local residents were forced to evacuate their homes. Debris flew into villages and towns. Roads and houses soaked in water. Heavy rain also hit southwestern China's Chongqing City and Sichuan province. They are located on the upper reaches of the Yangtze River. The rain drenched a county in Chongqing over the weekend. Nearly 3,000 people in 4 townships have been affected. Cars drifted away with the water and homes are submerged in water. Heavy rains in Sichuan province caused rivers to flood and cities and houses are soaked in water. According to the official data, the water level of the Yangtze River in Chongqing rose 13 feet within just 1 day, from last Thursday to Friday. Now the question is, under the pressure of the flood, will authorities open the gates of the Three Gorges Dam and flood the downstream regions again? China's manufacturing hub Dongguan City in South China's Guangdong province is launching citywide virus testing on Monday and entering lockdown mode. That's after the city detected 2 cases amid a flare-up of virus cases in the province. One of the 2 cases reported since Friday is a 19-year-old local college student. He was infected with a Delta strain. It's a fast-spreading variant of the CCP virus first found in India, and it has dominated infections in the recent surge in Guangdong. Local authorities immediately cordoned off the college campus, barring some 20,000 students from leaving. The cases seem to be few, but lockdown measures are increased. Dongguan has closed off its highway entrances to other cities. They also halted all shuttle buses linking the city to airports in other cities. Authorities told residents not to leave the city, except for essential reasons. Those leaving must show a negative test result within 48 hours. Tragedy struck southern China over the weekend. A 7-story residential building there collapsed without warning, leaving little time for those inside to evacuate. The structure is located in Hunan province. Chunks of concrete and other debris rained down on the surrounding area as the building crumbled, flattening cars and trucks. According to local media, 8 people were rescued and hospitalized as of around 5 p.m. Saturday. Neighbors reveal that many of the building's residents are renters. It's still unclear how many were killed in the accident. Tesla is facing a tough year in China. Several drivers are blaming the electric car maker for what they've deemed brake failures and collisions from earlier this year. Chinese media sensationalized the news, prompting a major sales drop for the company. The story behind the scenes may not be so simple. In a video, the host of a Chinese car talk show denounced Chinese media for what he called manipulating public opinion on Tesla. Wang Li worked as a journalist for over 30 years. He's hosted 2 autofocus talk shows that aired on China's traffic broadcasting network, based out of Jiangsu province. In the clip, Wang explained that some of his viewers were asking whether the reports on Tesla were true. That's including one major incident that grabbed the media's attention. In April, a woman wearing a T-shirt reading "brake failure" made a scene at the Shanghai Auto Show. She climbed on top of a Tesla vehicle, shouting that Tesla's brakes had failed her. Tesla countered her claims, blaming the accident on excessive speeding. After the woman's incident, many Chinese state media outlets started publishing daily criticism of the electric car company. The negative reports soon flooded China's info sources. But Wang points out something he says isn't quite right in the reports. He noted that a standard traffic accident report should include the cause of the accident, which is determined by the police. But those details were not included in Tesla's accident reports. Instead, the reporter directly identified the accident as one caused by Tesla's brake failure.
这就是所谓的带节奏，你所看到的结果是别人想让你看到的结果。
Wang noted that about 200,000 traffic accidents and around 50,000 road deaths are reported in China each year, and that the country is home to over 500 auto companies. So he is asking the question, out of so many different car makers and so many accident reports, why is the media only focused on Tesla, with little to no mention of other incidents? Hong Kong pro-democracy newspaper Apple Daily will be forced to shut in a matter of days. This after authorities froze the company's assets under a sweeping national security law. Shariah Ali reports.
The pro-democracy Hong Kong newspaper Apple Daily could be shut down by Saturday after police carried out raids and arrests under the city's national security law. Reuters saw an internal memo to staff saying the board would decide whether the company continues to operate on Friday. If they decide to shut down, June 26th will be the final edition. Apple Daily is a popular tabloid owned by Laos Next Digital. It was founded 26 years ago and has been a strong critic of the Hong Kong and Beijing governments. Its owner, Jimmy Lai, was arrested under Hong Kong's national security law last year and has had his assets frozen. Last week, police raided the newspaper and arrested senior executives for alleged collusion with a foreign country. Police said dozens of Apple Daily articles were suspected of violating the new security law, making it the first case in which authorities have cited media articles as potentially violating the contentious legislation. 3 companies related to Apple Daily are also being prosecuted for collusion with a foreign country, and authorities have frozen around $2.3 million of their assets. The arrests and scale of the Apple Daily raid have been criticized by Western countries, global rights groups, press associations, and the chief UN spokesperson for human rights. China's Foreign Commissioner's office said on Thursday the national security law protected press freedom and warned external forces to keep their hands off Hong Kong.
Hong Kong residents are reacting to the news. Kathleen Carroll, chair of the board of the Committee to Protect Journalists, said Jimmy Lai is not just a champion of the free press. He is a press freedom warrior. He fights for the right of his Apple News organization to publish freely, even as China and its backers in Hong Kong use every tool to quash them. A legal professional said you can disagree with what it says, but you can't oppress it. Hong Kong's freedom of speech and freedom of the press are facing huge restrictions. As a Hong Konger, I feel very sad. A group of Hong Kongers in the UK protested in support of Apple Daily. They piled hundreds of apples right outside the entrance of the Chinese embassy in London. A group of Republican senators on Thursday introduced a new bill. It would require U.S. colleges to disclose their financial ties with the Chinese regime.
The Foreign Funding Accountability Act was introduced by a group of Republican senators, including Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas. Cotton said in a statement, the Chinese Communist Party has made consistent attempts to infiltrate American colleges and universities. The bill states a first violation could see the institution pay up to $250,000 and $750,000 penalty for the second violation. For 3 or more violations, the penalty could be up to $1 million. Cotton said this bill would close donation loopholes and stop the CCP and other foreign agents from donating millions or even billions to steal American intellectual property.
The U.S. is advancing a proposed ban on telecom equipment from Huawei and ZTE. Beijing says the U.S. is stretching the concept of national security. NTD's Patrick Hayden has the story.
The U.S. is advancing a plan to ban equipment purchases from Chinese telecom companies. The Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, voted on Thursday to ban equipment approvals for companies deemed national security threats. That includes Huawei and ZTE. The vote drew opposition from Beijing. It said the United States, without any evidence, still abuses national security and state power to suppress Chinese companies. The FCC could also revoke prior equipment authorizations issued to Chinese companies. The acting FCC chairwoman says that the door is being closed on Huawei and other Chinese companies. Since 2018, the FCC has approved more than 3,000 applications from Huawei. The FCC action will block future purchases. In December, lawmakers approved a $1.9 billion fund for the FCC. It's to replace existing equipment from these Chinese companies. The FCC will vote in July to finalize the rules overseeing the reimbursement fund. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
An American entrepreneur went to China to start a business, but was falsely accused of illegal employment and was detained and tortured. NTD's Eiling Eng hears how he survived.
Steven Scherer is from the San Francisco Bay Area. After he graduated from college, he worked in Beijing for 5 years and founded an educational consulting firm in his 20s. In October 2016, while working in China, he was wrongly accused of illegal employment and was arrested and thrown in prison, even though he and his employees were all legally employed with visas. He said the Chinese regime often views foreigners as a threat, especially if they are doing well.
Most of Chinese kind of security laws, they're incredibly vague. It doesn't really mean much. You don't know what it is. And so when I was in interrogations for hours with Chinese police officers, one of the questions they routinely asked me was, do you know how much money we make? And they were looking at my tax documents and they said, do you know how much money you make? You make more than we make. Kind of implying that that was in and of itself illegal. I should not, as a foreigner, be making more money domestically in China than the police officer.
Scherer was imprisoned in what he describes to be a full military-style detention center, with 30-foot-high metal walls and armed guards around the perimeter. Prisoners had their blood drawn, were stripped naked, marched through metal detectors, and had all belongings taken away. The cell conditions were something people living overseas cannot fathom.
You're sharing one single moldy, disgusting squatter toilet among 17 inmates, again, locked in this 24/7. You are eating out of a communal trough. They pour some kind of yellow sludge into a bucket through a funnel into the door. Then 17 inmates just rush and try and eat this, out of a bucket. The conditions are horrific. They're designed to kill you. There's suicide warning signs plastered on the walls.
He was imprisoned for a little under a month. They slept with blood-stained blankets on frozen wooden planks with bright fluorescent lights beaming down the whole time. They stayed up taking turns to keep watch, making sure the inmates didn't kill each other. They were also constantly told they cannot contact anyone in the outside world. When Scherer was finally deported and landed back in San Francisco, he was malnourished, sleep-deprived, and sick. He had to go through therapy to readjust to living normally again. Scherer wrote a book detailing his entire experience, titled Surviving Chinese Communist Detention. It was released in May this year. In it, he shares stories about other groups of people who were detained, tortured, and executed for their beliefs: Falun Gong practitioners, Muslims, Uyghurs, Chinese Christians, Tibetan Buddhists, human rights lawyers, and political dissidents. His experience provided him with a newfound appreciation for the Constitution and the rights that protect people in the United States.
That is kind of one of the things that keeps you motivated every single day to share my story, to share this story with the rest of the world, and to kind of warn people and say, hey, look, we don't want encroaching CCP influence here in the West. I go through great lengths to describe the difference between the Chinese people and the Chinese party in my book, and to say, hey, this is not a slight of the Chinese people. This is not a slight against Chinese Americans, and arguably my strongest supporters in most instances. We're like, please keep speaking, please keep talking, please keep sharing your story.
Scherer now works in tech and is sharing his story on multiple platforms. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
And that's all for today's China in Focus. But before you go, be sure to check out our latest special report on Epoch TV about the recent tensions surrounding Taiwan. The Chinese regime is provoking global conflict over Taiwan.
Taiwan is clearly one of their ambitions before then. And I think the threat is manifest during this decade, in fact, in the next 6 years.
And one question may decide the fate of China's relations with the West. Would the United States go to war with China to defend Taiwan? But there's no easy answer. In a special report, we look into why an Asian island about the size of Maryland is becoming the flashpoint of the U.S.-China clash, why the Chinese regime sees ruling Taiwan as an issue of life or death, and why that danger to Taiwan could threaten the safety of the American people and the current world order.
For the U.S. military, the CCP's military threat to Taiwan is part and parcel of their military threat to the United States, so the U.S. military must respond to them as one.
To find out, check out our latest special report on Epoch TV. China in Focus is partnering with the platform, and that's where you can watch our exclusive content every Friday night. In them, we'll explore questions like how China lures in foreign companies to steal their technology, how the Chinese regime is actively collecting health data on people around the world, how the ancient Chinese philosophy of good governance differs from the current-day communist regime, and much more. Be sure to check out these investigative episodes by clicking on the link in the description down below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you really want to understand what's happening with China. You can still watch our Monday to Thursday episodes for free on YouTube, NTD Cable TV, the NTD website, and the Epoch TV website. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.